He was the man feared by countless assassins, the pinnacle of Korea's underworld, Red Shirt. He single-handedly carried the entire company, and now he was about to retire. In a room filled with men in black suits, a man with a scarred face held an axe defensively. Cha Hyuk stood alone, surrounded, and declared, "I'm quitting." As soon as Cha Hyuk finished speaking, Chairman Lee Wang-wook's right-hand man, Hyung Nim, asked if he should kill him. Cha Hyuk braced for an attack as the man drew a knife, ready to lunge. But Chairman Lee Wang-wook waved his hand. "Let him go. Don't let blood be spilled." On the bus, he took a call from his wife. "I'm on my way home," he said with a smile. "Yeah. Has little Chick been good? Tell her I miss her." Miju replied over the phone. Chick is kicking my belly like she's saying she's waiting for her daddy to come home." Cha Hyuk was overjoyed. "Really? She's kicking?" "Yes," she replied. "Ha ha, and what are you doing?" he answered. "I'm looking at a picture of little Chick. "That's sweet. Don't look too much. The baby's almost here." "Don't get obsessed," she teased. Suddenly the ring on Cha Hyuk's finger flashed. A man in a blue shirt holding a knife was aiming straight for him. He reacted instantly, dodging the blade and creating distance. The other passengers on the bus were startled. What was that noise? But the man just stared at Cha Hyuk with lifeless eyes. The passengers finally reacted, screaming, "He has a knife! Call the police! Police!" Another man clutched his head, whimpering, "Help me!" The attacker spoke. "I'll save you, so shut up. Everyone, get down." Then he ordered Cha Hyuk, "Except for you." The passengers scrambled off the bus. Cha Hyuk spoke into the phone. "Yeah, honey, I'll call you back later. I love you." The knife swung at him again, and again he dodged. He glared at the man with cold contempt, then lunged forward, seizing the arm holding the knife. He threw a punch, and the man fell to the ground, blood spraying from his nose. Cha Hyuk delivered another blow to his face and squeezed his neck, choking him. "Who are you?" Cha Hyuk demanded. The man grinned, revealing a newly missing tooth. "Ha ha, you don't even recognize my face. Just as I thought." He spat. "The people from the company are targeting you." Cha Hyuk was stunned. He tightened his grip on the man's throat. With tears welling in his eyes, the man choked out one last sentence. "You think quitting solves everything?" He tried to call his wife, but only got the automated message. "The number you have dialed is not available. Please leave a message after the tone." Fear gripped him as he whispered, "Miju." At their home, Miju was simmering a stew. "The food's almost ready. He should be home soon," she said to herself. The doorbell rang. She walked to the door and asked, "Who is it?" "Hello," a voice replied. "I'm a colleague of your husband's. I'm here to drop off something related to his retirement." He really retired, she thought as she opened the door. Outside stood Hyung Nim. She backed away, stumbling and falling to the floor. "Please, don't," she begged. He strode toward her, grabbing her by the hair. He raised a knife to her throat. Miju cried out in pain, "Help me!" Outside, Cha Hyuk was running home at full speed, still clutching his phone. The same familiar voice echoed. "The number you have dialed is not available." Extreme anxiety consumed him. "Please." When he burst through the door, Miju was gone. In her place were streaks of blood staining the floor. Familiar footprints. He walked into the living room. Hyung Nim was sitting on the sofa, waiting. "So you're back." He was eating the meal Miju had prepared, surrounded by his henchmen. "Is this why you betrayed the chairman?" he said. "As far as I know, you're not the type to be bothered by attachments like this." Cha Hyuk looked at the large bloodstain on the floor. Calmly, he asked, "Does the chairman know about this?" The man removed his eye patch. "I understand his intentions without needing to ask. I made the decision myself." He paused. "Isn't this interesting?" "What do you think?" he provoked. "Is that girl really dead yet?" Cha Hyuk's fury reached its peak. The henchmen charged. The first one, with a sword, was met by Cha Hyuk, who seized his arm. It broke with a sickening snap. The man howled, staring at his dangling arm. Cha Hyuk snatched the knife from his hand and plunged it into his neck. Blood sprayed everywhere. 3 more henchmen rushed him at once, but they too were dispatched one by one. Their throats slit as they fell in agony. One was ambushed on the stairs, but Cha Hyuk spotted him, smashing his head against the railing until he died, spitting blood. The last one took advantage of an opening, kicking Cha Hyuk off the stairs. They swarmed him, but in the end, they were all sent flying by Cha Hyuk's fists. Hyungnim stood calmly, smoking a cigarette. Cha Hyuk stepped through the pool of blood, his white shirt now stained red. The man looked up. "There's your true self, Red Shirt." He cracked his knuckles. "Now how about a round with me?" He gripped his karambit and lunged, slashing at Cha Hyuk, who expertly dodged and countered. But Hyungnim was no amateur, dodging the counter and kicking Cha Hyuk in the knee. Caught off guard, Cha Hyuk stumbled to one knee. Hyungnim seized the opportunity and lunged to slash him, but failed. Cha Hyuk grabbed him around the waist and slammed him onto the table, stabbing the knife into the wood next to his head as a threat. He sprang up, trying to slash Cha Hyuk's neck with the karambit, but Cha Hyuk was a step faster. Blood instantly gushed from the man's neck. He stood up, clutching his wound, staring at Cha Hyuk before launching another attack. Cha Hyuk slashed his karambit-wielding arm and, seizing the opening, stabbed him in the chest. The man coughed up blood, bending over and gasping, "Ah, damn it!" Cha Hyuk slapped him across the face, then slammed him down onto a chair. The man laughed a demonic laugh. "Ha ha! Looks like I'm no match for you." He said, "Kill me." With a cold face, Cha Hyuk swung the knife down. The man died. The room was filled with corpses. Blood stained the floor, the walls, everything. Cha Hyuk walked into their bedroom. He remembered old memories, putting the ring on Miju's finger, her pregnancy, looking at the ultrasound photos together, leaning their heads on each other's shoulders while watching the sunset. Now, in that same room, he was covered in blood. Miju lay on the floor, her pregnant belly still, no longer breathing. Cha Hyuk went to the funeral home to bury Miju, leaving behind mementos like the ultrasound photo and her ring. He called Chairman Lee Wong-wook. "Some of your men came to my house," he announced. The chairman sitting in his office asked, "Did you kill them all?" "I did," he replied, his voice light. "My apologies for raising such fools," the chairman said. "I'm sorry." Lee Wang-wook continued, "But as foolish as they were still my people. So I have no choice. I will send assassins." Cha Hyuk stared at his wife's cold coffin being handled by the staff. "No need," he replied. He repeated, his voice strained, "No need." The wedding photo of Cha Hyuk and Miju hung on the wall. They were once beautiful, leaning on each other and smiling. Now the picture was stained with blood, indescribably bleak. He paced his house. He opened the door to a room and blinked. "I'll be right back," he said, then opened the front door and left. Pachman sat on the sofa, peeling an apple. "Headquarters wants us to send reinforcements. What should we do?" he asked. He cursed. "Damn it, how many people are they planning to send just to catch one guy?" A bald man spoke up. "AU's team was completely wiped out this time. I heard the chairman personally ordered the recovery of the bodies." He continued, "Just because they're cousins, they get special treatment? What's so precious about a guy who died in a gang brawl?" Pachman's face wrinkled in distaste. "To be honest," he said, "the guys at headquarters are all about forming cliques. They have no real ability." The bald man became serious. "We're talking about Red Shirt here. If you ask me, the company picked the wrong fight. The man's a legend in the assassination world. If he makes a move, people will follow. If we screw this up, it could explode into a full-blown war." What the bald man said worried Pachman too, but he tried to play it cool. "Don't exaggerate, you idiot. Rumors are always overblown." He said, "What can he do against the whole company by himself?" The sound of a door opening. The assassins in the room looked up. Cha Hyuk stood in the doorway. They immediately became wary and took defensive stances. The two men on the sofa were also completely taken aback, fear flickering in their eyes. Cha Hyuk asked, "Is the boss here?" The henchmen in the room began to back away, keeping their distance from him, their confusion growing. "What the hell? Isn't that Red Shirt? Are they going to deal with us first? Why did he come here instead of going to the headquarters?" Pachman gripped the knife in his hand and slowly approached him. You really know how to pick your moments," he said. "You came alone? I don't get why you came here instead of the main office, but you've got guts." His face twisted as he lunged forward, grabbing Cha Hyuk by the collar. "Hey, you guys, lock the office door," he ordered, but Lee Bongjun stepped out, leaning on a crutch, and stopped them. "That's enough. Someone's going to get hurt. The kids look really scared of you. Lee Bongjun continued. Things have been noisy lately, thanks to you. I hope you'll understand. Pakman, unwilling to back down, pointed at Cha Hyuk. Boss, are we really just going to let this guy go? Ignoring him, the boss went to make coffee. Pakman, he's a guest. Pakman stuffed his hands in his pockets and ordered his men to make coffee. Cha Hyuk walked over to the sofa and sat down. Lee Bongjun spoke first. I'm very curious. In a situation like this, why would you come to see an old man like me who's retired from the scene? Cha Hyuk got straight to the point. You still have 4 men at the headquarters, right? He told them to gather everyone and get a car ready. Chairman Lee Bongjun, I'm going to kill him. Pakman was outraged. What is this crazy bastard saying? Lee Bongjun stopped him. Don't interfere, you idiot. He placed a cup of coffee on the table. It's too late now. He explained. The succession war ended a long time ago. As you can see, I was pushed to the sidelines by Wang Wook and the Neville family. Now I live in exile. Lee Bongjun refused. I don't have the power anymore. He put a cigarette in his mouth, and a subordinate lit it for him. He continued, more importantly, if it were you, it would suit me even better. Silence hung in the air. After a long moment, Cha Hyuk sneered. You coward! Still scared of your little brother? Afraid he'll chop off your other leg? Pakman's anger boiled over. He clenched his fists and cursed. You crazy bastard! Lee Bongjun stopped him. Don't, Pakman. I had a bad feeling about you from the start. Pakman grabbed Cha Hyuk by the collar. Boss, let me handle this guy. If we let him go like this, the men will lose faith. He dragged Cha Hyuk by the collar. Come here, you bastard. You're dead today. Cha Hyuk reached for a knife on the table and stabbed backward toward his neck. The man said, You've got guts, coming here alone. Before he could finish his sentence, he turned around. Huh? He saw Cha Hyuk holding the knife, stabbing toward him. Cha Hyuk shoved him against the wall. The henchmen were shocked and screamed, Hyung Nim! The man fell to his knees. Ah, damn it, you son of a bitch! Cha Hyuk hit him in the head again, and he screamed in agony. He was dragged across the floor like a dog. The terrified henchman could only watch as Cha Hyuk dragged him to the table where Lee Bongjun was sitting and slammed his head on it. Blood spurted out. He slammed his head again. The man could only make a gurgling sound before he died. Everyone was horrified. Only Lee Bongjun remained calm, watching it all. Cha Hyuk spoke. Hey, Lee Bongjun, I've shown you. Now it's your turn to answer. He made his offer. I'll take down your brother for you. Are you in? Pakman's blood had splattered onto Lee Bongjun's face. He stared at Cha Hyuk. At the headquarters, Chairman Lee Wang Wook was mobilizing all his men. We're still missing a few of our people, he said. Vice Director Choi In-ho replied, The triplets haven't arrived yet. Director Song John was annoyed. They're late even when the chairman personally summons them. They've got some nerve. Manager Park Song-jae also chimed in. They really do have guts. Just then, the office door opened, and 3 men walked in. One of them spoke. What's the big deal that you had to call all of us here? You're always complaining that we're too expensive, old man. Is it about that incident? Another one boasted. If so, we're probably your best choice. A third one silenced them. Everyone, be quiet. We're in front of the chairman. Show some respect. The one in the middle bowed respectfully. It's been a long time, Chairman. The others in the office exchanged suspicious glances. Chairman Lee Wang Wook glared. Do you think you can do it? Cho Sam-sok replied, We just need to support Team A. We'll take care of the rest. Lee Bongjun looked at the car keys in his hand and said to Cha Hyuk, Once Lee Wang Wook is dead, it's your turn. I'm mentally prepared. What about you? Cha Hyuk replied calmly, Just provide the right support, if you want your brother dead. With that, he turned and walked toward the door. He grabbed the handle, then turned back to say one last thing. See you at the company. After he left, Lee Bongjun wearily rubbed his forehead. Humph. The veins on his arm bulged. He whispered to himself, The situation has changed. Then he let out a strange laugh. Cha Hyuk drove a white car down the road, glancing at the rearview mirror. He saw countless black cars chasing him. In one of them were the triplets. Mani spoke up. You should buy a washing machine. Cho Du-seok was startled. So sudden. I'm serious, Mani replied. How long are we going to have to wash by hand? Forget about that stuff. Cho Du-seok said. Maney whined. Oh my god, another gaming console? What's wrong with a Switch, you idiot? He retorted. You're the one with the most laundry, Mani said. I always have to do it all. If you don't like it, get better at rock, paper, scissors, Cho Du-seok argued. All this time, Choi Sam-seok had been sitting silently in the car. He suddenly yelled, That's enough. Everyone focus on the mission. If this is successful, I'll buy you everything. He assigned their roles. First, take care of Red Shirt. The white car suddenly swerved and headed toward the black cars. Bro, that bastard is coming toward us, Mani said nervously. Son of a bitch, Cho Du-seok growled. Choi Sam-seok, sitting in the back with his arms crossed, ordered, Speed up. Cho Du-seok slammed on the gas, heading straight for the white car. He gritted his teeth and muttered, Damn it. Cha Hyuk drove past them, then turned the car around to face them head on. The window of the black car rolled down. Maney looked out, horrified. That guy's really crazy, isn't he? Everyone, get back, you bastards. More than 10 men in black suits got out of the black cars, weapons in hand, and stood facing the white car. Cha Hyuk calmly stepped out, a large knife in his hand, his eyes scanning the crowd. A man yelled, He's alone! Get him! Instantly, the man next to him rushed forward, and the others followed. Cha Hyuk also sped up, clashing with them. The sound of knives clashing rang out continuously. 2 men attacked him at once, but his absolute defense helped him dodge their blows and gain the upper hand, taking them down one by one. Mani looked out the window and said, Bro, our team is being pushed back. Cho Du-seok, looking at his phone, replied to his younger brother, Of course, you idiot. Those guys are chickens. I could take them all down by myself. Mani was surprised. You? You could take them all down alone? Cho Du-seok was annoyed. Mani, you've been getting sassy lately. Their older brother called, Cho Du-seok, Mani, focus. It's possible one of us won't make it back today. He instructed them, just do as we always do. The 3 of us are one. The 3 of them calmly got out of the car and approached Cha Hyuk. The men from before were dead, their bodies twisted in strange positions, blood flowing from their heads, arms and legs covering the ground. Cha Hyuk's white shirt and face were also stained with blood. He turned his head to look at the 3 of them. Cho Sam-seok, at the front, stared at him and ordered, Kill him! In a flash, the 2 sides clashed again. He threw a punch at them, thinking to himself, the chairman's triplets. One thing to keep in mind when fighting them is their coordination. The punch sent Mani flying, but Cho Sam-seok and Cho Du-seok took the opportunity to swing their knives at him. While he was focused on attacking the 2 of them, Cho Du-seok sprang backward, gaining momentum to jump and slash at his back. However, Cha Hyuk was a step faster. He jumped onto his shoulder, somersaulted backward, dodged the knife, and kicked Cho Du-seok down. But he was no less skilled, somersaulting in mid-air and using his knife to stab Cha Hyuk in the back. He jumped on his back, a taunting opening move. Cha Hyuk turned, grabbed him by the neck, and slammed him to the ground. The knife clattered to the floor, its silver blade reflecting Cha Hyuk's calm face. He picked up the knife and stood up. Choi Sam-seok and Mane stood opposite him, preparing their next attack. His back muscles are cut, he thought. Then the longer this drags on, the more of a disadvantage I'll be at. I have to end this quickly. Mani looked at Choi Sam-seok. Bro, is your face okay? Your aim is really something else. We'll talk about it at home, Choi Sam-seok replied. Mani continued to grumble. You're done for this time, bro. He snapped. Mani, stop it. Cho Du-seok, who had been lying face down on the ground all this time, heard his brothers talking and became furious. He yelled, Hey, what are you 2 doing? Aren't you going to deal with this guy? Hurry up and finish him. Instantly, the 2 of them rushed forward, slashing relentlessly at Cha Hyuk. He retreated step by step. Suddenly, Cho Du-seok lunged forward, leaping high into the air, ready to stab him. You bastard! He screamed. He had managed to stab Cha Hyuk in the side of his chest. Choi Sam-seok lunged with his knife. Cha Hyuk resisted, and the chilling sound of knives clashing filled the air. I've lost too much blood, he thought. If this keeps up, I won't last. My opponents are seasoned veterans with years of coordinated experience. 2 of them are holding my arms, while the 3rd is waiting to strike my blind spot. If I lose focus for a second, I'll take a fatal blow. He ducked behind a pillar, squinting. He's looking for an opening. An opening? He was watching Mani. Mani cheerfully asked, Bro, this guy's about to die. What are you going to do after this? Choi Sam-seok remained focused. Don't get cocky, you'll die. It's 3 against 1, and now Cha Hyuk is injured, making him even weaker. We clearly have the upper hand, Choi Sam-seok thought. But my instincts, honed by a life as an assassin, are telling me this guy is dangerous. That look in his eyes, it's definitely the look of a predator watching its prey. He didn't understand. Why, when facing someone on the brink of death, do I feel like I'm fighting on the edge of a cliff? It's best not to be reckless. Impatient, Mani rushed forward. Damn it, he cursed. He swung his knife in front of Cha Hyuk. Damn it, he won't die. Mani, no! Choi Sam-seok cried out in horror, but it was too late. Mani's wrist was caught in Cha Hyuk's grip. With his other hand, Cha Hyuk stabbed him in the side with a weapon. Mani writhed in pain. His 2 brothers were alarmed. What? They dropped their weapons and raised their hands in surrender. I'll give you anything, Choi Sam-seok pleaded. Just spare Mani. You damn it, Mani said. If you dare buy that switch... He was crying, blood pouring from his mouth. I swear, I'm not doing laundry by hand anymore. Damn it. Cha Hyuk flung him away. Mani lost his balance and fell to the ground. What are you doing? Cha Hyuk asked. If any of you want to get out of here alive, pick up your knives and keep fighting. Their anger exploded. The 2 brothers bent down, picked up their knives, and slashed wildly at the air as Cha Hyuk dodged. Choi Sam-seok faced him directly. His hands were caught in Cha Hyuk's grip, and so were Cha Hyuk's, but Cha Hyuk was faster. He broke free and slashed Choi Sam-seok's neck. He fell, dead. Cho Do-seok was terrified, watching his brother die in front of him. Bro, he cried out in anguish. Then Cha Hyuk kicked him in the head, and he fell to the ground. He cried, Ah, you bastard. Another swing of the knife, and Cho Do-seok was dead. The radio crackled back to the headquarters. Mission failed. A total of 18 people, including the triplets, are dead at the scene. Red Shirt's current location is unknown. Non-company personnel should not let their guard down. More than 10 men standing outside the headquarters were surprised, then terrified. One of them spoke into a radio. Red Shirt's location has been confirmed. A voice crackled back. Where is he? The man stammered. Well, he's standing right in front of the company's gate. Vice Chairman Lee Wang-wook was horrified. What? He's standing right in front of the company's gate? He yelled. He rushed out, trying to stall him. I'll be right down. His men watched him go. Captain, are we going out too? Lee Wang-wook took the coat his subordinate handed him and prepared to leave. Cha Hyuk is here. Those who are in the same platoon will know what that means. Cha Hyuk stood alone, surrounded by countless men in black suits eager to kill him. Countless eyes watched him with fear. Someone answered a phone to receive an order. From a high floor of the building, the head of security, Oh Nam-woong, looked down and spoke into the phone. Let him in. There are too many eyes watching. He said, We'll deal with Cha Hyuk quietly inside the company. A man with 2 large scars on his face gave the order. Make way. We have an order from above. Let him pass. The other men told each other. Everyone, move. Cha Hyuk stepped into the elevator. The men in black suits looked at him with contempt. Vice Chairman Lee Wang-wook ran to him, pleading, Hyuk, do you really have to go this far? He said, I heard the news. No matter what, those who can live should live. You're blinded by rage right now. The vice chairman warned, if you go in there now, you'll die. Cha Hyuk avoided the issue, changing the subject. I got the baby clothes. Thank you. He added, Miju really liked them. He placed a hand on his shoulder. Thank you. Vice Chairman Lee Wang looked at his retreating back with pity. Cha Hyuk entered alone, knife in hand. Everyone in the company looked at him with wary eyes. A person from Human Resources smiled at a client and said, Please wait a moment, then glanced at Cha Hyuk. He stepped into an elevator, and 3 men immediately followed him. A voice announced, The doors are closing. Instantly, the 3 men attacked him in the confined space. Is there any reason to drag this out? Let's end this quickly, he asked. The doors closed. It's unknown what happened inside that elevator. Chairman Lee Wang-wook asked the head of security, Oh Nam-woong, what about Lee Bong-joon's men? He replied, We've confiscated all their weapons and locked them in the conference room. They probably won't be able to get out all day. He asked, but is there a reason to go this far? Chairman Lee Wang-wook said, we have information that Cha Hyuk met with Bong-gun. The chairman explained, this might seem like I'm overreacting. He continued, this is a story from before I became chairman. He recounted a past conversation with Lee Bong-gun. This time, you handled the Songgu construction case. Lee Bong-gun had ordered. Really? Lee Wang-wook had replied. Those guys are real thugs, he'd said. Make a show of force from the beginning. Make sure they don't dare interfere with our project. He had looked at him and said, do it properly. Father has high expectations for you. Do well. Lee Wang-wook's meeting place was an old apartment building. He said to Cha Hyuk, who was with him, I've never seen your face before. I didn't expect them to send a new recruit. He grumbled, Hyungnim is really too much. He turned the doorknob and ordered him, new recruit, just stay outside today. Don't do anything. The door opened to a room filled with a man's henchmen. The air was thick with the smell of cigarettes. He bowed obsequiously, holding out his hand. Nice to meet you. I'm Vice Chairman Lee Wang-wook. The man replied arrogantly. Isn't Chairman Lee Bong-gun supposed to come? He didn't even bother to look at Lee Wang-wook. Bring the chairman here. I have nothing to say to you. He looked disdainfully at Lee Wang-wook's attempt to shake his hand. What is this? How humiliating. We're the ones who call the shots here. You understand? Then a man with a scarred face walked in and handed him a piece of paper. The man handed the paper to Lee Wang-wook and ordered, Stamp it. He was stunned, frozen. Suddenly, Cha Hyuk stepped toward the man. What is it? You want to read the contract? He asked, confused. Cha Hyuk slapped him across the face, sending his head snapping to the side. Blood sprayed from his mouth. Chairman Lee Wang-wook's expression went from surprise to fear. Cha Hyuk grabbed his hair, pulling his head back, and said, Listen carefully. In an instant, he slammed his head onto the glass table. His face was filled with murderous intent as he continued, From now on, this is how you greet people. His henchmen were stunned, cursing, this crazy bastard. One by one, they rushed in to punch Cha Hyuk, but they were all taken down in agony. Lee Wang-jun just sat there, astonished. After he stepped out of the room, the contract was signed, but men were lying all over the floor. He said to him, Weren't there more assassins on the other side than agreed? You must have realized it was a disadvantageous situation. Why did you do it? Cha Hyuk looked him straight in the eye and replied, I didn't think I would lose. Ending that story, he asked him, Do you know why people like Cha Hyuk are dangerous? He continued, It has nothing to do with their strength. It's because they never choose to fight battles they know they will lose from the start. Cha Hyuk is that kind of person, someone who always wins. The henchman in the red vest, standing with many other assassins, was on the phone with Lee Bong-gun, still waiting for orders. Just give the order, he said to him. Lee Bong-gun, sitting in his room, replied, It's time to begin. Lee Wang-wook gave the order. Charge in. In case of an emergency, you are authorized to kill. When the elevator doors opened, the three men who had been in the elevator with Cha Hyuk were gone. He stepped out, knife in hand. The assassins waiting outside were afraid and retreated. Wait, don't push, they yelled. So panicked they were shoving each other. I told you not to push, you bastards, you sons of bitches. One of the assassins, his anger exploding, rushed forward and slashed at Cha Hyuk with a knife. But with just 2 defensive moves, followed by an attack, the man was stabbed in the shoulder. Cha Hyuk twisted the knife in his body. The man collapsed in pain, clutching his own throat to stop the bleeding. Finally he fell, screaming horribly, his body contorted, dying with his eyes open. The remaining assassins whispered to each other nervously, That crazy bastard, he's all alone. After the signal, all the assassins rushed toward him at once. Lee Wang-wook's henchman asked him, Boss, are we really going to send in the reserve team now? Our numbers are too small for an all-out attack. He looked at the cigarette in his hand and replied, Wars aren't decided by numbers alone. Who leads is the key. He looked up at his henchman and asked, If Cha Hyuk were standing right in front of you, would you dare to draw your sword and slash at him? Meanwhile, Cha Hyuk was holding the leader of the assassins, a knife to his throat. Lee Wang-wook continued, In the end, the enemy is just a bunch of salaried employees. No matter how much they love Biwao money, Risking their lives is too high a price. He said, those who have witnessed Cha Hyuk fight will instinctively weigh the risks first, because before they are assassins, they are still human. But that doesn't mean they'll retreat immediately. After all, he's just one person. But as the battle raged, an assassin hurriedly reported, Bonggun's side is attacking. The assassins who were fighting suddenly became wary. What the hell is going on? Aren't we just supposed to be dealing with Cha Hyuk? What's happening? Li Wangwook's henchman, the one in red, led countless assassins in and ordered, everyone, charge! Li Wangwook continued, just by increasing the risk a little, the situation will change. Chairman Li Wangjun, sitting in his office, said, this is starting to get interesting. He shouted, the 12 Zodiacs! Instantly, 12 assassins stood in 2 rows and shouted clearly, Chairman! He assigned their tasks. From Shen to Hai, protect the rear. Each of you gets 1 billion. The second group, from Zai to Wei, kill Cha Hyuk. Successful, you get 10 billion. If I could, I'd kill him myself. Whoever captures him alive, I will consider for a promotion. No individual rewards. Whoever kills him takes all 10 billion. The 12 of them descended to the battle. The assassins who had been fighting were surprised. The 12 Zodiacs? You guys are joining the fight? Director Song Dion spoke up, advising the department head, don't you think things have gone too far? There's no turning back now. Vice Director Choi In-ho added, it's ridiculous. How many people have to die because of you? Cha Hyuk picked up a knife from the ground. How much are you getting paid? He asked. What? Director Song John asked. Cha Hyuk continued, whatever it is, I hope it's a lot. The remaining assassins in the room began to doubt. What? You're getting paid separately? Favoritism just because you're the chairman's people? Damn it. We're all risking our lives here, and this is the result? Director Song Jae-yeon put his hand in his vest pocket, stuttering, fine, I'll grant your wish. It seems you're eager to meet your maker. He pulled out a dart from his pocket and threw it accurately at Cha Hyuk. He dodged, rushing toward him. A dart grazed his face, leaving a long, bleeding wound on his cheek. He slammed him to the ground, punching him repeatedly in the face, then stabbed him in the neck with a knife. It all happened so quickly. Blood spurted from his neck. Vice Director Choi In-ho rushed forward, swinging a spiked mace at Cha Hyuk's head. But luckily, he reacted in time, turning his head and slashing his neck. He flew backward, blood splattering everywhere. Assassin after assassin with maces charged forward with fierce momentum, but they were all wounded by Cha Hyuk in the head, neck, back, and shoulders, dying from blood loss. One man with a dagger looked at Cha Hyuk with eyes full of hatred and ordered, get him. But with lightning speed, Cha Hyuk made a few moves and they were all sent flying, bleeding profusely, no longer alive. A man with long hair covering his eyes roared, die, you bastard, and used a chain to restrain him. Cha Hyuk somersaulted, dodging the chain, and rushed forward, stabbing him in the face with a knife. The man was stunned for a moment before he too fell. Another one took the opportunity to stab Cha Hyuk in the leg, wounding him, but his fate was the same. Death. Cha Hyuk walked slowly to where Director Song John was lying on the ground. He begged, wait. Before Cha Hyuk could do anything, the man was so scared his face was drained of color. He screamed, 100 billion. Whoever kills him, the chairman is offering a 100 billion reward. The assassins who had been standing still, afraid to join the fight, were now even more outraged. They whispered, 100 billion? The elite group kept the reward for themselves? Director Song Dion saw that the others were still calm. He shrieked, hey, hey, kill him, hurry up. The others still stood still, exchanging glances. You should have said so from the beginning. We would have helped you fight from the start. Cha Hyuk grabbed his head. He begged, hey, spare me, hey. Damn it. The others remained silent. Cha Hyuk slammed his head on the floor and said loudly, it seems the chairman is truly desperate. 100 billion just to kill me. What are you still standing there for? It's time to make some money. Your only opponent is me. Hearing Cha Hyuk's words, the assassins rushed forward at once, their eyes full of determination. He continued, it doesn't seem too difficult, does it? At the main lobby on the first floor, the scene of mutual slaughter was unsettling. Blood splattered everywhere. Rooster, as fast as the wind, slashed an opponent's neck with a knife, killing him instantly. Dog kicked an opponent far away with a single kick, blood flying in all directions. Pig wasn't idle either, punching an opponent in the face, causing saliva to fly out of his mouth. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Monkey spun around and punched an opponent under the neck, causing him to throw his head back, blood spewing from his mouth, his neck broken. After a short time, the 12 Zodiacs had dealt with the grunts below. Manager Park Ong-ji, with a cold expression, assigned tasks to each person. Rooster, take the stairs. Make sure Lee Bong-gun's men can't get up. Dog and Pig, block the entrance. He cracked his knuckles and looked at Kang-san standing opposite him. Let me handle him. The elevator was moving to the 22nd floor. Vice Chairman Lee Wang was in the elevator with 2 subordinates. A young man with a long scar across his face asked nervously, Team leader, are we really going to do this? Vice Chairman Lee clenched his fists, his brow furrowed. The chairman has offered 10 billion for Cha Hyuk's head. Anyone who doesn't want to participate can get out. The elevator stopped at the 41st floor. An announcement sounded. The doors are opening. As the doors opened, the 3 of them stepped out and were stunned by the scene before them. The scarred man exclaimed, What is this? Inside, menacing-looking men were scrambling to get to the front, constantly yelling, Get out of the way. I'm going first. Don't cut in line. It's 10 billion, and no one is backing down. They scrambled over each other, trying to kill Cha Hyuk. But who was he? He was Redshirt, the assassin. How could they possibly take him down so easily? With a knife in one hand and the other free, he punched, kicked, and slashed his way through them, one by one as they fearlessly advanced. His entire body was covered in the enemy's blood, his white shirt now stained red. His thoughts raced. Knives are coming from every direction. The space is too open. There's no terrain to use for cover. Dodging every attack in a place like this is nearly impossible. This is a real disadvantage. He was surrounded by eyes that looked like those of hungry tigers. One wrong move, and he would be torn to shreds, not a bone left. One of them yelled, rallying the others, We're almost there. Charge. Die. Die. The men behind him, one by one, attacked, screaming, Die! While he was fending off attacks from the front, a man from behind, not fearing death, kicked away the man in front of him to get a running start and sneak attack him. Vice Chairman Lee and his 2 subordinates, having just stepped out of the elevator, couldn't bear to watch the scene of hundreds of burly men attacking him all at once. They righteously stepped in to help, attacking the others who were eagerly trying to kill him for the 10 billion reward. A man from behind was sent flying and landed at his feet, leaving the others confused. They turned around, wondering, what was that? Vice Chairman Lee angrily yelled, Are you all crazy? How many more people have to die before it's enough? Is it reasonable for us to fight each other just because of the chairman's crazy order? He continued, Don't you understand? If you retire the wrong way, you'll end up like Cha Hyuk. The chairman is not someone you can trust. There's no guarantee we'll actually get the 10 billion. So stop. A middle-aged man with a gaunt face stared at him as if he couldn't believe his ears. Are you telling us to stop? We're assassins. Trust, honor. Throw all that away. Killing for money has always been our job, right? Why are you suddenly having a crisis of conscience? You just want to find an excuse to hoard the reward for yourselves, don't you? Vice Chairman Lee was quite surprised by the man's response. What? He exclaimed. The man voiced his suspicion. Come to think of it, the timing of your arrival is strange. Another man chimed in, Yeah, right when we were about to finish the job. They seemed to have gone mad, brandishing their weapons and attacking his group, shouting words that incited the others. You cowards! You think you're the only ones who need money? I'm a father. I need money too. You traitors! Kill them all! With that, the 2 sides clashed again. He took the opportunity to run towards the emergency exit. Seeing this, the assassins shifted their focus and concentrated their attacks on him. He's running away. Don't let him escape. Vice Chairman Lee also ordered his men to block him. However, they split into 2 groups. One continued to fight, holding back Vice Chairman Lee's men, while the other chased after him. They ran to the stairwell and found him waiting at the top of the stairs. They yelled to the others behind them, He's over here! He's almost dead! Kill him quickly! As they rushed forward, he slashed them one by one with his knife. Another one who didn't fear death warned, Stop struggling, just die already. After a while, The number of surviving assassins could be counted on one hand. Seeing this, the remaining ones still refused to give up and rushed forward to attack, screaming, "Die!" An assassin with a scar running down his mouth and his accomplices arrived to see the scene of corpses piled up on the stairs. Climbing stairs with this many bodies is tough. Were the stairs always this steep, he thought? He saw Cha Hyuk's silhouette from a distance, and his eyes widened, sweat pouring down his forehead. He quickly stopped the others behind him. Wait, don't charge in recklessly. First of all, he didn't know what to do next. Then he thought, Since when did we lose so many people? Cha Hyuk, exhausted and barely able to stand, raised his head and looked coldly at the men below, urging them, "Keep fighting. What are you standing there for? I said, keep fighting." His tone was full of annoyance as he walked down the stairs, step by step, while they retreated one by one, crying and begging for mercy. "Please spare us. We were wrong." However, he only said one thing. "Keep going." They continued to beg, screaming, "Haven't you killed enough? Please spare us." He refused bluntly, "No chance. If you want to live, kill me. The knife is in your hand." His body radiating killing intent, he slowly approached them. He remembered a scene of himself standing in his house, the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the entire room. He walked to the kitchen where his pregnant wife was busy preparing breakfast. He stared at her small figure, not wanting to eat. She looked up, smiled at him, and gently reminded him, "Why are you just standing there? You'll be late for work. Hurry up and eat. Then go." Seeing that he didn't react, she said again, "What are you doing? Hurry up." He was startled and walked over to the table full of hot food. Okay, he replied. She also sat down in the chair opposite him. "I have to take the baby to the doctor for some tests, so I won't be home for dinner tonight. I was thinking of stopping by my mom's place. The rice is in the pot. Just reheat the soup and get some banchan from the fridge, okay?" Seeing that he was dazed, she asked, "Are you listening?" He replied shyly, "Yeah, I heard you. Thanks for the meal. You must be tired, doing all this while you're pregnant. Should I come to your mom's to pick you up tonight?" She stopped eating for a moment and replied, "No need. It's close. Don't worry." As he brought a spoonful of food to his mouth, tears streamed down his face. She saw this and asked worriedly, "What's wrong? Is it not good?" The scene before him kept changing, her image blurring and then disappearing. He imagined himself returning home after the battle, still in his blood-soaked clothes, sitting at the table full of food, unable to swallow. He said to himself, "Miju, I'll eat later. I'll be home soon." Vice Chairman Lee and the others came over and shook him. "Hyuk, wake up! Are you okay?" He was sitting with his head down, remembering his deceased wife. When he was woken up, he said nothing, just stood up with a sorrowful expression and walked past Vice Chairman Lee. Vice Chairman Lee put a hand to his forehead and explained, "It seems the president has locked up Lee Bongjun's men, so they'll be a little late. We'll go support them and come back after we've cleaned up. We've used up all our energy from the meal your wife gave us. Since you've come this far, no matter what, you have to kill Lee Wang-wook." A kick sent an assassin falling from a high floor in front of Manager Park and Han. Manager Park rushed forward to attack him. He didn't just stand there waiting to die, he jumped up and kicked Manager Park in the side. A subordinate recognized him. "That's Snake, from the previous generation of the Zodiacs," he said. Another one wondered, didn't he retire? He's been retired for over 10 years. Why did he suddenly come back? The fight was intense, and it was impossible to tell who was stronger. When one attacked, the other defended. After a while, Manager Park cracked his knuckles and said with a contemptuous tone, "You were much faster when you were active. Now you look old." Han Kang-san, who was Snake from the previous generation of Zodiacs, clutched his injured arm and looked up at him. Suddenly, some subordinates came in from outside and excitedly announced, "Reinforcements are here. The Zodiacs who went to kill Redshirt are coming back." The alarm blared, and Manager Park's men went on high alert, strengthening their defenses. Han Kang-san smiled smugly, while Manager Park, caught off guard, stared at him in astonishment. "Huh?" The fat man with beady eyes and a wide mouth, a member of Lee Bongjun's faction, had just entered and was aggressively ordering, "Kill them all." Another chaotic battle erupted. Manager Park, clutching his injured shoulder, frowned as he realized something. "Something's not right," he said smugly. "I only see 4 Zodiac members on the first floor. which means the rest have gone to Cha Hyuk. Seeing our people here, it seems your side has been wiped out. You bastard, Manager Park cursed angrily. However, he used a taunt. Don't pretend to be strong. Your right leg is probably useless by now. On the 43rd floor, in front of the president's office, stood the powerfully built department head CO, his arms crossed over his chest, holding a sharp axe. An assassin, running for his life from Cha Hyuk, was cursing. Damn it! Where is everyone? Why is he here? He was overjoyed to see his savior. Department head CO! I'm alive thanks to you. Everyone else is dead, so I was holding on by myself, but now that you're here, I can... Before he could finish, Department Head CO slapped him across the face, sending his head snapping to the side. Blood splattered on the wall as he collapsed to the floor. With a ferocious expression, he looked down and said with contempt, "Running away like an insect. Today, you will die at the hands of Cha Hyuk." After dealing with that man, Dragon of the Zodiac, Department Head CO walked up to Cha Hyuk and greeted him. "Long time no see. I didn't think you'd be able to make it this far. I heard you took care of the triplets. They thought they could solve everything." Department Head CO paused for a moment, then bared his perfectly white, straight teeth in a grin that twisted his face into a grotesque expression. He growled, "But in the end, they all died, didn't they? I believe even the president, who always favored those bastards, will finally realize that the ones he truly needs are us, the Zodiacs." With that, he confidently raised the axe in his hand and aggressively attacked Cha Hyuk. But Cha Hyuk quickly tilted his head to the side, causing the axe to slash through the air. Seizing the opportunity, he deftly bent down and slashed the man's thigh with his knife. The man screamed in pain like a pig being slaughtered, then angrily swung his axe wildly. Cha Hyuk had to continuously dodge as the man, seemingly crazed, slashed at a nearby fire extinguisher, causing gas to spray out. Cha Hyuk used this to his advantage, retreating and losing his balance, falling to the ground. Seeing this, the man laughed triumphantly. "I didn't expect you to make it this far with a body like that. I'll give you that." He was about to swing his axe to finish him off, but things didn't go as he had planned. Cha Hyuk stood up while he was gloating and slashed his stomach with his own knife, causing the axe to fly from his hands and fall to the ground. Blood rained down. Inside the room, a speaker announced, "All of Wanggun's men have been freed. When did the reinforcements arrive? The main hall has been breached. The Zodiac's dog, rooster, pig, and monkey have all fallen." Outside, the assassins heard this, and their faces filled with terror. "The Zodiacs have fallen!" They called to their comrades, "Retreat! Retreat!" They scrambled to escape. By now, Cha Hyuk was also exhausted. With the last of his strength, he slashed Department Head CO's chest one more time. Without hesitation, he pulled out the knife, causing more blood to spurt out. The man immediately clapped a hand over the wound to stop the bleeding and glared, "Not bad." Cha Hyuk replied coldly, "I listened quietly because you mentioned the triplets, but you're weaker than them." Enraged by the contemptuous words from his mouth, he gritted his teeth and asked, "What, I'm weaker? I'm the leader of the Zodiacs." He leapt up, swinging his axe to attack, but Cha Hyuk took him down in an instant. Inside the room, Chairman Lee Wang-wook, the head of security, and the others could clearly hear the fight outside. The sound of the door opening made everyone turn to look. As Cha Hyuk entered, he questioned, "Why did you have to send people to kill me? I told you yesterday that I would come myself." He slowly walked inside, leaving behind the body of Department Head CO, who died with his eyes open. His eyes and Chairman Lee's met, face to face. Lee Bongjun sat in his office, staring at the phone on his table. The bald man with a scarred face advised him nervously, "I think we should wait a little longer. I'm not sure what happened over there, but if it's him, he'll call us." His reflection appeared on the phone's screen. "It's strange," he muttered. It took 15 years to piece together the fragments of my fangs and sharpen them. Thanks to Cha Hyuk, everything is happening faster than I planned. But thinking about the years I waited, ending with just one phone call, it feels incredibly painful. I think perhaps I crave the end of this waiting, even though the result was certain one way or another. He took off his glasses and smiled slyly. "I feel refreshed." As Cha Hyuk got closer to the chair where Chairman Lee was sitting, the head of security, Oh Nam-woong, and his subordinate stepped forward to block him from getting any closer to the chairman. Cha Hyuk's cold eyes swept over the group in front of him. At the same time, the subordinates, itching for a fight, couldn't hold back any longer. Leader, give us the order. Do we kill him? They asked, knives in hand, ready to fight at a moment's notice. Han Kong-san, the blood on his face still not dry, walked in with his men from a distance, passing the young man who had been taken down by Department Head Seo earlier. He was rubbing his head, confused about what had happened. Help! Help! Han Kong-san, upon entering, advised, don't shed any more pointless blood. Focus on the goal. Chairman Lee remained calm, just watching the drama unfold. Oh Nam Woong's subordinates were also surprised by their appearance. They got up here so fast. Leader, what should we do? The two factions faced each other, still waiting for orders. Vice Chairman Lee, no longer looking as polished as when he first arrived, his hair disheveled and his shirt stained with blood, looked at him thoughtfully. Cha Hyuk. He really did it? Lee Wang-jun, in his old age, made the wrong call. He turned that man into an enemy. In the tense atmosphere, Oh Nam Woong raised his hand and ordered, Stand down! It's pointless to keep fighting. Live to see another day. His subordinates were surprised and dissatisfied, murmuring, What? What? But they still had to obey the order and retreat. He pulled out his phone, dialed a number, called Lee Bong-jun, and then placed it in front of Chairman Lee. It's the chairman's call. Answer it. His subordinates didn't understand what their leader was trying to do, their faces full of question marks. Chairman Lee, only now reacting, glared at him. From the other end of the line, a familiar voice said, It's been a while, little brother. The car sped down the road. Vice Chairman Lee was on the phone with someone. You handled it very well. I'll be there soon. Just as he hung up, Cha Hyuk, who was sitting next to him, opened a new message on his phone. It was from Miju. Oppa, what is this? I found it at home, followed by two cute icons. Seeing his radiant expression after reading the message, the man asked curiously, Did something good happen? He replied slowly, I prepared a birthday present for my wife. I had to leave it at home because I had to work overtime today. It seems she just found it, and she loves it. The man was surprised and pretended to be envious. I thought I was pretty close to you, but I didn't know you had this side to you. She must be a good woman to make you like this. Cha Hyuk agreed. That's right. He turned to look at him, his tone sincere. I'm in a good mood today too. I can only help you get off work early. Go home. You should congratulate her yourself. Then he ordered the driver, Stop the car here. As the car pulled over, he also opened the door for him. Cha Hyuk said shyly, Sir, you don't have to. Before he could finish, the man returned to his seat and said goodbye. See you tomorrow. Cha Hyuk got out of the car, still watching the car speed away, a question mark hovering over his head. He quickly searched for his phone in his pocket and dialed his wife's number. Oh, Miju, let's have dinner together tonight. In the car, the driver asked nervously, Will it be all right without the leader? Vice Chairman Lee replied slowly, The situation has been resolved. Bringing him along would just be more trouble. The car stopped at the pier, where several other cars were already waiting. He got out and said to the driver standing behind him, Follow me inside. The guards there, upon seeing the two of them, the black man asked suspiciously, Is he a Neville man? The bearded man, holding a lit cigarette, replied with contempt, And another dog is born. As the two of them stepped inside, the first thing they saw was a man wearing only shorts, being tortured. His body was covered in wounds, blood from head to toe, and he was hanging by a rope. Underneath him was a basin, its purpose unknown. Without looking, he knew who had just arrived. His voice strained, he asked, Is that you, Wang Wook? He lifted his head, his brow furrowed in a threat. You son of a bitch! You think you can get away with this? If father finds out, you're finished. Unafraid of the warning, he replied, That's right. Father loves his eldest son very much. If he found out, he would be furious. But you see, with everything that's happening, do you think father is still alive? The man seemed to disbelieve it. Impossible, he said, his voice full of doubt. You couldn't have done it yourself, could you? What kind of monster gave you the confidence to do this? He took a handkerchief from his breast pocket and wiped the blood from his brother's face. He explained, The Neville family trolled Doosan Construction to be their Korean branch, but you and father refused. Since everything went off track, They made me an offer. They'll make me the chairman." He admired the blood-stained handkerchief. The man glared at him, enraged. "You crazy bastard! You're planning to give the company to that royal family?" He quickly retorted, "Without me, this company would have been reduced to ashes. We would have surely paid a heavy price for opposing them. I can't live the rest of my life in your shadow. You've enjoyed many privileges until now. It's time for me to enjoy them. Just think of it like that." As he spoke, he threw the bloody handkerchief to the floor and stomped on it as if it were something unbearably filthy. He leaned in close to his brother's ear and said, "You've lived your whole life without knowing what it feels like to be ignored, haven't you? I'll make sure you regret it for the rest of your life, you bastard." He then turned and ordered the bald man next to him, "Start the surgery." The bald man, wearing a raincoat and gloves, holding a knife, asked, "Should I start with the left hand or the right?" He looked at him not as a human, but as an animal, to have asked such a question. The man, now truly terrified, stammered, "What? Wait." He ignored his words and decreed, "From the feet." He turned and walked away, calling back, "It doesn't really matter." Seeing his perilous situation, he desperately called after him, begging for mercy. "Wait, Wang Wook. I was wrong. Wang Wook, I said I'm sorry. You bastard, stop. Damn you." He didn't even glance back, just walked straight out. Inside, pitiful screams echoed in waves. He raised a hand to his face, a triumphant smirk on his lips. When he got outside, one of his subordinates quickly exclaimed, "Congratulations, Chairman!" Then, in unison, the others followed. "Congratulations, Chairman!" The white shirt, stained with blood, was no longer recognizable. He stood before Chairman Li. The conversation between Vice Chairman Li and his brother was playing through the phone. "Yes, you're right, Wang Wook. Now it's your turn. Just think of it like that. Have fun, you bastard." The sky was clear, the sun peeking through the skyscrapers. On the streets, as always, traffic was heavy, car horns blaring continuously. On the sidewalks, there was no room for pedestrians. People went about their business. In contrast to the lively yet orderly and civilized scene, inside that building, bodies lay strewn across the floor, blood still staining the ground, uncleaned. On the top floor of that building, Cha Hyuk stood opposite Chairman Li. He reached out, picked up the nameplate on his desk, and held it delicately. "Do you know the meaning of this nameplate?" he asked. Cha Hyuk glanced at him, confused, not knowing what he was trying to say, and listened silently. He was still rambling on. "I used to be curious about it. What kind of power is this that my father craved so much?" He recalled his childhood and continued, "Normally, my father was just the boss of a small debt collection organization. By dealing with debtors, financial institutions all over the world liked his abilities and supported him fully. The support was so great that it was enough to become the top assassination organization in Korea. Naturally, at the age of 17, I knew how to hold a knife. From then on, I slashed and killed, and that's when I knew the meaning of the nameplate my father loved. Not long after, when that nameplate became mine, I understood the value of my life. A small nameplate to hold on to, and on it, the footprints of the path I've walked." He threw his head back and emphasized, "It is a symbol of power, proof that all must bow before me." He sat up straight again, excitedly continuing, "Yes, the nameplate represents me. It's my shadow. It's the reward I've earned." From behind the nameplate, a blinding light shone, forcing even Cha Hyuk, who was standing opposite, to squint. He seized the opportunity, pulling out a hidden knife and lunging for his neck. But Cha Hyuk was no ordinary person to be so easily assassinated. He immediately tilted his head to the side, building momentum, and raised the knife in his hand to attack. He pointed the knife at him, his face ferocious, and growled, "Why aren't you loyal to me? Why are you turning around to bite me?" Vice Chairman Li, seeing the injustice, was about to step in and deal with him, but Han Kong-san next to him put out a hand to stop him. "Just watch." Vice Chairman Li could only clench his teeth and try to hold back, frowning and calling out, "Hyuk!" and continued to watch the fight. One attacked while the other retreated to defend, this pattern repeating many times. Finally, Cha Hyuk, still young and strong, took advantage, grabbing Chairman Li's wrist and twisting it behind him, causing him to cry out in pain. The knife in his hand also fell. Discovering the knife in Cha Hyuk's hand, pointing at him, he glared. As fast as lightning, another knife emerged from his sleeve, surprising Cha Hyuk, who didn't detect it in time. He grabbed the knife with his bare hand and cried out in pain, pulling his hand back. Blood flowed relentlessly from his hand. Knowing he was at a disadvantage, he seized the opportunity to attack him with his bare hands, but Cha Hyuk quickly dodged the blow and once again grabbed his wrist, stabbing him with the knife. However, he couldn't pierce through. "A stab-proof vest?" he exclaimed. Lee Wang-wook, still not giving up, kicked him. Cha Hyuk also quickly retreated, looking up and offering a well-intentioned warning. "I can understand, but no matter what you do, the result won't change. Give up. Today will be your death anniversary." He used the hidden knife in his sleeve to attack him, but missed. Cha Hyuk immediately slashed his chest with a knife, causing blood to spray out. He tried to suppress the pain and extend the knife in his sleeve toward him. Cha Hyuk was faster, raising his knife and decisively slashing the back of his hand. Seeing the situation was not good, he thought of another plan. "At this rate, I'll die. If it weren't for the vest, I'd be gone." It seemed he had decided on his next course of action. He desperately rushed forward, one arm around Cha Hyuk's stomach, the other hand clawing at the wound on his leg. Annoyed, Cha Hyuk cast a deadly glare at him and then threw him away. He looked down at the people standing by, watching the show, and was bewildered to see their murderous gazes. He glanced at each person one by one, then stopped in front of the head of security, begging for help, trying to bribe him with money. "Naam Woong! How much did Lee Bong-yoon promise you? I'll give you double, no, 10 times that amount, just to deal with a man who's about to die." Nam Woong adjusted his glasses and said contemptuously, "My fake friend, you haven't changed at all. Why don't you deal with him yourself? Why are you calling me?" "What?" he exclaimed in shock. He turned his head to see Cha Hyuk walking toward him. Cha Hyuk advanced on him, questioning as he went. "Why did you do it? You couldn't have forgotten the promise between your father and me, the condition for me to be able to retire without any further demands. Remember?" He backed away, sweat pouring down his face, his voice tinged with fear as he began to justify his actions. "I had no other choice. After you left, if you joined another organization, my organization would go bankrupt. That's better than dying, isn't it? That's why I sent Frog to kill you, to make sure no one knew. So that bastard told you everything." Cha Hyuk's face was now dark. He asked, "Frog didn't act on his own. He's not the type to make his own judgments. It was just too predictable. You were the one behind it." Seeing that he had no way out, he quickly begged, "I was wrong. It was for the organization." But in his heart, he was cursing. Damn it. His vision began to blur from the blood loss. Just a little more. He knew he always carried a gun. He just needed to bide his time. He turned and pleaded with the people around him, negotiating. "Someone stop him. Quick. 1 billion? No, I'll give you 10 billion. As Cha Hyuk got closer, he replied confidently, "No one can stop me. You killed her, the only one who could have stopped me." He pretended to break down, slumping to the floor, waiting for Cha Hyuk to approach. He smirked, pulled out the prepared gun, and aimed it at him, smiling triumphantly. However, he didn't expect that as he was about to pull the trigger, Cha Hyuk's knife would fly faster, hitting him in the neck, forcing him to drop his hand and touch his neck. In his eyes, old memories flashed like a short film. Chairman Lee. As a child, he had gone through some tough times with his father, being ridiculed and belittled by those around him. His father didn't value him much, but from that, he learned many valuable lessons, using many dirty tricks to climb step by step to the position he held today. There were also times when his father treated him very well. "Wang-wook, are you hungry? Do you want some homemade spicy soup?" He collapsed, leaning against the wall, filled with late regret. If I had realized sooner that the image of my father was clouding my vision, that shadow was like an obstacle for anyone who wanted to hide under his wings. If I had realized sooner, maybe things would have been different. Maybe I too... Cha Hyuk stood looking at his pathetic, defeated form and swore, "Damn it, you piece of trash. You go on ahead. Wait for me a bit. I'll be there soon." The fluorescent lights flickered, reflecting on the concrete floor of the underground parking garage. The sound of footsteps echoed, seeming to stretch endlessly in the silent space. 2 large trucks were parked side by side, their doors wide open, waiting to receive more bodies. The men handling the bodies around the truck were dressed carefully, not a bit of skin showing. They quickly and nimbly carried each body into the truck. In another corner of the building, A member of the organization was checking information on his phone and complaining, "I told you to come up here. Why are you cleaning the first floor?" A subordinate next to him grabbed the white-haired man's arm and pulled him along. "How much longer do we have to wait for them? Take him down." He grabbed a handful of the white-haired man's hair and cursed, "Damn it. Why don't you just die and save everyone the trouble?" Then he started giving instructions. "Hey, grab here, not there." He pulled his hair, lifting his body slightly, causing him to grimace and sigh. "Lighter than I thought," he remarked. Suddenly, a man in a white suit appeared, placed a hand on his shoulder, and pushed him hard, causing him to lose his balance and stumble away. The subordinate next to him, terrified, broke out in a cold sweat, his hand unconsciously letting go of the white-haired man. Oh Nam Woong bent down and helped the white-haired man up, much to the astonishment of the two men. He draped the white-haired man's arm over his shoulder, put him on his back, and said, "Let me." He then carried him away, past the suspicious gazes of the subordinates, none of whom dared to ask a single question. Cha Hyuk stood in the cold hallway, his body long since covered in dried, caked blood. His arms hung limp but stiff, his hand still clutching the blood-stained knife. Cho Do-seok arrived to find him in this exhausted state. "Cha Hyuk," he said, "I owe you one." Cha Hyuk heard his voice but didn't turn around immediately. Do-seok stood a short distance away and thanked him seriously. "Thanks to you, I was able to punish the unfilial son who killed the former chairman. On behalf of the staff, I thank you." He cautiously asked about his condition. "But are you okay?" Seeing that Cha Hyuk didn't say anything, he continued, "The fact that we killed Lee Wang-wook means Nivelle has lost its Korean branch. This is beyond the old master's protection." His eyes filled with killing intent. "They will surely come to collect this debt." Cha Hyuk turned his head to look at him, his eyes weary. He didn't want to say anything more. Seeing his expression, Do-seok didn't press the tense situation further. He turned to his subordinates and said, "All right, it's best to rest first." He asked two of them, "You two, help him up for me. I need to go check on the casualties among the subordinates." With that, the two of them went to help Cha Hyuk up, while he turned away, his gaze still on him. He bowed his head, thinking, if they hadn't called for reinforcements, the situation would have been very different. He then turned and walked in the opposite direction, while the two men were still extremely worried about Cha Hyuk's condition. The man supporting Cha Hyuk spoke up. "Hey, you idiot!" He looked at him. So exhausted, he couldn't even lift his head. "Look at this mess. It's all over." Just as the sun began to rise, its gentle rays pierced through the transparent glass of the skyscrapers, casting a shimmering, warm glow over the bustling, luxurious city. "Let's go home." In a bare room, Lee Bong-geun sat in a wheelchair, gazing out of a large window. In contrast to the warm, sun-drenched scene outside, the inside of the building was only touched by a few rays of sunlight from the window. The space inside still felt very cold. A man walked up beside him. When the man was standing next to him, Wang-wook began to slowly explain the meaning of his name. Wang means righteousness, and Wook means leader. The name Trang-du gave me, telling me to live an upright and dignified life. Yet he himself lived in a completely opposite way. He asked the scarred man next to him, "Is PJ Du planning to come back?" PJ Du was the former head of security. He tilted his head to look at him and said with a smile, "With a situation like this, I have to take care of young Master Bong-geun." PJ Du took out a cigarette and lit it. "I'm worried about Trang Cho's company. It's really going to go bankrupt, just like its name implies." Wang-wook laughed. He, Lee Trang-du, I objected to that company name, but who can change his stubborn mind?" PJ Du threw the finished cigarette on the ground and said in a low voice, "The old master." He looked outside and announced, "Nivelle has arrived." Wang-wook replied matter-of-factly, "Yes, my token can only stop them once. This time, they will definitely come." PJ Du listened with a blank expression, having walked into the trap himself. They both looked outside, each with their own thoughts. Cha Hyuk is about to face a difficult time. At the Doosan branch of Doosan Construction, everyone was in a panic over the latest news. Lee Wang-wook, the chairman of Doosan, was dead. At the Hano Energy branch of Doosan Construction, they received the same news. The person who received the news frantically repeated the announcement as soon as it reached his ears. The entire company was overthrown by Redshirt in a single day. After hanging up, he quickly ordered his subordinates to contact Chairman Lee Bong-gun immediately and start implementing a plan to win his trust. We have to side with him first. Meanwhile, at the St. Stone Hotel in London, England, there was great excitement. How interesting! A girl leaned against a table, a newspaper in her hand. Korea's notorious assassin, Redshirt, brings down the Korean branch of the Neville family, the Doosan Group. She predicted, it's about to get chaotic again. The servant standing beside her remained silent. You dare to confront Neville? Who are you? She sat down on a chair and sneered, Archa Hayuk, at the Neville family. A glaring red light replaced the normal light in the dark room, making the space incredibly hazy and making it difficult to recognize anyone. A stern-looking man, who appeared to be the leader, spoke first. Is the information in that data file correct? A man with glasses and frightening eyes, present at the meeting, replied, Yes. It all started when Bong-gun killed Cha Hyuk's wife. It seems he acted after his request to assassinate Cha Hyuk was previously denied. A woman, with a luxurious appearance, leaning back on the sofa with a haughty air, spoke up. In the end, he foolishly brought disaster upon himself. Now that the Grandel token is no longer in effect, we have no reason to stop them. A middle-aged man added, Yes, no matter what, Neville's Korean branch has collapsed. We can't sit idly by. A long-haired man with a cold voice ordered, Call the hunters. Tell them they're about to meet an old friend. 3 badges were neatly arranged on the table. The burly men, wearing only shorts, knelt before Bong-gun and apologized. I was wrong, Bong-gun. He remained nonchalant. Don't do that. Let's talk for a bit. Bong-gun sat comfortably on a chair, holding a cigarette, his relaxed demeanor a stark contrast to the others. He slowly continued. Not only did you trick the fool Wang Wook into handing over the entire company to Neville, but in exchange, you killed my father and took half my leg. Bong-joon asked mockingly, and all you got were 3 badges? Even though the evidence was clear, because Bong-gun still asked calmly, they thought they still had a chance. One of them spoke up, trying to rationalize their actions and appease Bong-gun. No, we just chose the best solution for the company. You know the consequences of opposing the Neville family. Another one of the 3 kneeling before him added, That's right, Bong-gun. It's not too late to show loyalty to the Neville family, even if it means promising more money than Lee Gong-wook ever offered. They all chimed in. We have a strong communication network that will surely be of help. Bong-joon leaned back in his chair and said gently, No, that's not it. The bodyguards around them began to close in. If you have time, why don't you pray? Only now did they see the clear gap between themselves and this chairman. Even when standing straight, they were still a dozen steps below him. The bodyguards were in front of them. Bong-joon's words seemed gentle, but the dangerous killing intent was no different from a death sentence, because it's about to end. These men, already scared, became even more so. The man, with not even a scrap of cloth on him, was sweating profusely. He frowned. Can you handle it? The Neville family never forgets a grudge. Bong-joon, still maintaining his calm demeanor, looked out the window. You know, I've already lost everything because of them. What else is there for me to endure? He brought the cigarette to his mouth, took a drag, and calmly watched the romantic sunset outside, while the sounds of beatings and screams of the men being dealt with echoed in his ears. I'll wait here, Neville. In the heart of the modern city was a towering skyscraper that shone brightly against the dark purple sky, extremely prominent. The elevator had stopped on the 97th floor. Inside were men of different builds, but all had toned muscles and radiated a thick, killing intent. The door was opened by 2 subordinates, their faces filled with murderous intent. Inside the room that the elevator led to were men in elegant black suits, their killing intent no different from those they were facing. One by one, they stopped at the elevator door to be searched before stepping deeper into the room. A blond man in a black suit spoke up. There's no one. Follow me. The group followed behind the 2 subordinates. A young man with impressive chest muscles complained, Damn! Do we have to be checked like this every time we come up? It's so annoying. The others also started talking. A tall one said, Vasavana blurry mumson, an empty barrel makes the loudest noise. A smaller one retorted with a mocking laugh, Come on, Anka, he doesn't even understand that. The impressive-chested man from before sneered. There's a similar saying in Korea, you bastard. The small one, hearing this, became flustered. You bastards! Huh? You bastard! A slightly taller one with shoulder-length hair and Chinese-style clothing also interjected. If you're not going to fight, don't talk. We're here to see the higher-ups. The small one, dissatisfied but not saying anything more, just clicked his tongue. The one who had been leading the group suddenly stopped. Ah, Han, he said in a low voice, reminding everyone. No one is to speak after entering this room. A voice from inside invited them in. Come in. The impressive-chested man scratched his head. Ah, every time I come in here it feels so dirty. The door opened, and a red light from inside began to shine out. They stepped inside. Behind the door was a scene steeped in red. Not just the stairs were the color of blood, but the sharks swimming around were too. Overall, it was undeniably terrifying. On the second floor, along the railings, were imposing bodyguards holding guns, all observing the group's every move. A representative stepped forward, standing no more than 10 centimeters from the stairs. Opposite him were the people who had been in the Neville family's meeting room. They still looked as mysterious and frightening as ever, but this time their killing intent was even stronger with the blood-red sharks swimming in the deep ocean as a backdrop. Greetings, the long-haired man said first. I'm sure you've received the news. The token has fulfilled its mission. Cha Hyuk leaned back on the bed, his body covered in scars, with new, bandaged wounds, looking incredibly miserable, and on his neck was a very distinctive scorpion tattoo. You owe him a debt that needs to be paid. It was a tattoo that all the newcomers to the Neville family had, just in slightly different locations. The man from the Neville family gave the order. Toa, I authorize the assassination of Cha Hyuk. The man with the unclear face coldly received the order. Understood, Neville. Everyone, did you hear that? Our target this time is... All the brothers in the group said in unison, Cha Hyuk.